This is an incoming transmission from the Jersey Shore.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, powered by McLean Advisory Group. Today you'll hear some of the most important financial information and wealth-building techniques available anywhere.
Let's get this party started, huh?
Do you have a question for Scott and the team?
Am I on the air?
609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646.
We'll get that information to them by radio.
Now, Financial Insanity with Scott McLean.
Well, what does our nation's debt picture look like? Guess what? It's not great. If you're not sure how much money our country owes and how that could impact individual taxpayers, well, stay tuned. We're going to talk about that and more. This is Financial Insanity. I'm Alex Dingman, alongside, as always, Scott McLean. Scott, great to see you, my friend. Hope you are doing well. And the nation's debt, Scott, it's something that we just continuously
out of control.
see. We just see it grow and grow. And for you, it must be very frustrating. For somebody who works in the industry that you work in, that's all about helping people tackle their debt or avoid debt altogether, to have the nation's debt be now well over $34 trillion. Scott, what does that mean to us?
You know, it hits in 5-6 different areas. Number one, the personal finance. I use it as an analogy, comparing the national debt to personal or household debt. And you wouldn't put up with it, but the government continues to put up with it. So this can reduce the government's really ability to fund programs and services that direct beneficiaries individually, such as education, infrastructure, and healthcare. The second area is called the interest rates that are borrowing. And of course, they are high. Is the government going to reduce interest rates? They're talking about that now in a few months to come, and I don't think it's going to happen because, again, the CPI, the PPI is absolutely very high right now. And if that continues and we continue to print money for overseas wars, we continue to print money for problems here in the U.S., we continue to look at the stuff, the border control, and, of course, all these people that we're feeding and taking care of and giving them freebies. This affects our listeners, Alex. It affects you as a young guy. Is Social Security going to be there? We talk about not only interest rates, could they continue to go higher? Could they stay stagnant? I think if there's a political move, you'll start to see them reduce interest rates, but it's not going to last very long. That we have too strong of what's going on right now. Then you look about the economy, the growth and the stability.
Yeah.
You know, this is a lot of information for those of you out there, and I hope you're not near the liquor store because I don't want you to drive you there. I want to drive you to say, how do I position my finances for, again, possible printing more money, the government shutdown? And of course, we've all been through this. Heck, I'm 65, fixing to go on 66, and we've seen this happen time and time again. The Republicans, the Democrats they're boxing inside their ring, but they go home hugging and kissing. I think I don't know.
Well,
so the economy isn't stable, and the slower growth can impact job creation, wages, and opportunities. And again, last thing is the next couple things is number one, taxation. Could they raise taxes? And with all this debt to pay it down, that could be on the slate, whether you're Republican or Democrat. Could they be raising taxes? What does that mean to you as an investor? Should you be plowing more money away into Roth IRAs or Roth 401ks, knowing that you're right around the corner to retire, whether it's 5 or 10 years from now, filling up the coffers? Or maybe you should do a Roth conversion. So now I have tax-free money another 3 to 5 years or 7 years. And then how do I give money to my kids? Should it be all IRA money and not IRA money? Because IRA money, individual retirement accounts, 401ks, is taxable. Can I make that tax-free by maybe using insurance as a position if you're healthy and passing that on to the kids, using the current assets to buy insurance to reduce it? And I'm not trying to sell anybody insurance, by the way, Alex. I want to beware. There are a lot of tools based on the taxation, the public services could go down. And then, of course, inflation and future generations. How's that going to impact? So this affects printing money. Is not just a quick one-off show, Alex.
right.
This is serious on how you out there are really investing your money. If you have questions, I'd love to hear from you. 609-488-4646. Give our studios a call. and ask for me, and we will talk off the air, no cost, no obligation, and you will not be twisted to, hey, you got to work with me. This is a good way to meet another advisor off the air, in person or on the phone, to find out how you will be affected. A lot of times people do reviews with their clients, but they don't dig into the crap that's about to happen. Maybe some of the poop that's happening is, what about long-term care? This could come up out of the blue. Or what about, should I put my house into an irrevocable trust? Should I buy life insurance? Well, does that hit the economy? Every one of those areas. Your topic today, when we were discussing it, seems like an easy topic because Congress is always fighting the national debt. What, $54 trillion and escalating because we can't even pay our daggum debt. And if we can't pay our daggum debt, what happens? It gets bigger and it starts to ramp out of control. And then what happens? We don't want to be a Venezuela, I can tell you that.
Well, and Scott, again, that number 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646 for Scott and the team, McLean Advisory Group. And we're talking about the national debt, over $34 trillion, and it just continues to grow. Could go over $54 trillion in the next decade. And we're hearing this again. Something we hear a lot is the potential for a government shutdown. And we don't want to overreact to anything like that, Scott. That's what the news wants us to do. But what about the markets? What about people's finances? A government shutdown, how could that potentially affect people's wallet?
Just like you out there, you like certainty. That's why we have a red light and a green light. The yellow light for some of you is punch it. Other words, slow down. So we have gauges for certainty. We know if the light is red, too much debt, we need to stop spending money. But the government, in its wisdom, keeps spending money. And like Venezuela, estimated debt, tremendous amount of debt, the third largest economy out there, and now they ended up being just a terrible, terrible economy, and their inflation shot to the moon. Could we be that country? Hopefully not. And I think as you are preparing your investments, I'm looking at high interest rates right now. Could, for some of you that are in a very high tax bracket, could municipal funds or municipal bonds be a great tool? Frankly, if you're in a high tax bracket, you could be getting a tax-free yield at a 3.5%, 4%, comparable to 5.75%. At a tax-free weight of money. So if you're in a high tax bracket, how does your advisor look at your tax situation? How strong are the bonds out there? Should you buy municipal bonds where it could be double or triple tax-free, or just single tax-free? So if you're not familiar with bonds, please feel free to give me a call off the air. Scott McLean, 609-488-4646, because you may say, where should I put my money to get some tax-free income? Well, that could be a single, double, or triple tax-free benefit. Again, it's 609-488-4646. But when you call me, have your questions written down, because again, as you invest money, maybe you have a pile of money that you really are not worried about and you want to pass it on to the kids. Hey, how can I make that pile of money safe and secure, or maybe a lot less risk in the stock market? So again, as the stock market is scary, because if we have a shutdown, the stock market will have a wonderful of effect by making you want to go to the drugstore and get Pepto-Bismol, or a lot of maybe some of you need some X-Lax. But I can tell you, it's going to be a problem if this isn't taken care of, and you get some people in Congress that stops this crap over and over again and raising this debt ceiling, which will catch up to us, if not me. I'm an old man compared to you, Alex, a young stud, 20-something. How old are you, 20-something years old?
I'm young. I don't know if I'd call me a stud, but
all right.
I'm getting close to 40. I'm getting up there.
Oh, you're 40. Okay, so those are 40. Maybe Alex's kid pops out some kids. They're going to be affected. And I can guarantee for some of you young people out there, my age, young, or older, you're thinking about your kids. And if you're not, maybe you have no kids, or maybe you have your estate set up. I want to pass my estate on and do a testamentary trust and pass the money off slowly. Maybe you have a special needs children. You want to protect them. This is what we discuss. Again, today's topic is the debt ceiling. But when you give our studios a call at 609-488-4646, I'd love to talk to you.
And Scott, here we have just a couple minutes left in this segment. And what I want you to hit on is that whether it's a government shutdown, maybe it's a pandemic, maybe it's a natural disaster, there's a lot of things, Scott, that we cannot control. And maybe it's things in your own personal life as well. But
You're right.
There's a lot of things that we cannot predict, make plans and God laughs. And so that's why, Scott, having some sort of plan, having something written down, having a written retirement income plan can help us navigate stuff like this, right, Scott? That's why it's so advantageous to get a plan put together because, yeah, you can't plan for everything, but at least you'll be ready when stuff dodoes hit the fan.
You're right. You really can't plan for the inevitable, the black swan events when we saw in 2008 where the market evaporated people's investments up to 60%. We also saw it from 2000 to 2002. The market evaporated almost 38 to 40%. And of course, some funds went down 50%. How do you mitigate that? We don't know when the next black swan event is, but we have a lot of crap against us, whether they're wars overseas, printing money. You got people fighting, families fighting because of Democrat, Republican there. This is ridiculous. So what plans should be in place? How do we secure your finances? How do we secure your family? Maybe your spouse. You want to make sure he or she is bulletproof. How do we pass on assets for the least taxation? This is called the 3D approach, the dreams, the dollars, and then your dynasty. This has to be brought in every single day as we look at the market continue, because we don't know what happened. Heck, when the market dropped, and of course we had a possible government shutdown in 2018-19, 20% right off the top, boom, 20 up to 20%. And we've seen this happen time and time again. Then people pull out of their investments at the wrong time. And this is when you need a coach, a financial advisor who've been through this situation to help guide you, calm down, relax, because this too will pass in time. But again, we have to look at the entire study, the entire picture. Who's listening to me, your entire picture could be unravel and you don't even know it. So I'd love to hear from you. If you want to give our studios a call, I'd love to speak to you off the air. 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646.com, by the way, is our website. But I'd love to speak to you off the air. If I can help you, I'll do that. And if we need to get together, we'll have you come in. But again, a quick 5, 10, 15-minute phone call over the phone to help ease your trip to the pharmacy to get the medication we don't want you to get.
Exactly. And you know what? The government might shut down, but we're just getting rolling. And we got segment 2 coming up. We're going to talk 401k and IRA decisions. This is Financial Insanity.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money, but do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At McLean Advisory Group, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call the McLean Advisory Group team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Tax Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies are not associated entities.
Can we really live the go-go years, or am I going to scrimp and save and stay at home and watch TV, watch Bob Barker? I don't know.
Nothing wrong with that.
No.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, presented by McLean Advisory Group.
Millions of Americans' retirement money is in something like an IRA or a 401k. And as a whole, U.S. retirement assets are more than $32 trillion. And over half of it, over $19 trillion is in IRAs and defined contribution plans. I'm Alex Dingman, along with Scott McLean. 609-488-4646 is the number, 609-488-4646. But what do you think about those figures there, and what's that mean for folks, Scott?
It's amazing. I'm so excited to see, even though the markets are like a Duncan yo-yo, goes up and down. When you're climbing a mountain, Alex, and you're going a yo-yo, you're watching your yo-yo go up and down. The goal is to get to the mountaintop. So if you're just watching the yo-yo, you don't know where you're going. You're just watching the yo-yo go up and down. It's almost right now. People are watching the markets go up and down, but they don't know what's the end game. So a lot of people, all of us that are heading into retirement, they're building up their savings. There's some types of retirement accounts, whether they're Roth IRAs. You mentioned the 401k, 403b, 457. We have the defined contribution. There's a lot of different retirement plans, and I call that yummy money or ugly money. The ugly money is defined retirement plans, 401ks, 403, because when you pull it out, it's taxable. And when we spend time with our clients, we want to see the tax return and how are you going to pull out money. So the decision really is to really save money, A. B, how much should you be saving? And C, where do you put the money to get in this crazy stock market? And you definitely don't want to have a lot of Pepto-Bismol every single night when you go to bed and watch the bad news.
No.
How do you get stability and strength? And this is where you need a coach. And really, when you start pulling money out of the markets, this is now a tax game. So when you meet with your financial advisor and he or she is not asking to look at the tax return, they're leaving a piece of you out. It's like running a marathon in the rain and on rocks, but you have no shoes on. Double dumb, just double dumb, double butt dumb. And I can tell you, you want to make sure you have the right equipment, the right tools when the market is like it is, volatile as it is right now, and you're about to retire. So again, I'm so glad you keep putting money in, dollar cost averaging. We can talk about that later on if they want to, but the question is, what should you do now? And I can tell you this is really important.
Well, and Scott, the thing is, too, when we're talking about these accounts, the big thing to think about, and you hit on it, was that how are these things going to be taxed? So you're talking about a 401k, IRA, and so there's different options there, and it just matters when it comes down to it of how that retirement income is going to be taxed. And so this is just important details, obviously, for people to know about.
This is why I wrote the book, The Three Blind Mice. And if you're listening to me right now, if you want to get a copy of the book, anybody who wants to come in and meet with me, I'd be happy to give it to you. I'm not trying to sell the book at all. But I think what's happening is you have your three blind mice, your financial advisor, your legal guy, your will, power of attorney, living will. And then, of course, you've got your tax guy, your CPA or your accountant or whatever. And this is what's so important, that the financial guy or gal that you're working with, if they're not looking at the tax return, and you're about to pull money out and you're ready to retire, the most important thing I can tell you, I can encourage you, I would beg you, is to get with your financial guy or gal and say, here's my tax return. How should I be pulling money out? What's going to be the most challenging process of pulling money out? How much extra tax will I pay? When Social Security was tax-free, now Social Security can be taxed up to 85%, and you don't even know that. How does that get affected? And when you're pulling money out of these qualified plans, I call it ugly money because it's qualified. You have to pay tax at the ordinary tax basis. When you pull the money out, how much are you going to pay in taxes? And I think I know for a fact when we meet with people who want to come in and want to get a second opinion or a third opinion, this is a tremendous tool. What is this? The tax return. It is a tremendous, powerful tool when you're going into retirement, along with if you're getting Social Security disability, maybe your spouse is getting that. Or maybe you're getting 2 or 3 different pension plans, or maybe you're not getting Social Security because you work for the railroad, you're getting a different plan. So this is not a one-time meet somebody and invest. No, This is a game plan or a discussion on how to best optimize your retirement for the best choices. You won't have to pay excessive taxes because you walk through the process of taxes. And I can tell you, this is where the whether it's pre-tax, post-tax retirement, you've got to pay attention. You've got to pay attention to taxes, because you think you're going to live on, let's say, $4,000 a month, but you end up living on maybe $3,500 a month. That $500 could affect people,
Right.
Because of why you didn't take in the consideration, not you, but the person that you're working with did not look at the taxes. And this is a vital mistake.
Well, and Scott, it just speaks to, too, like, there's changes that happen all the time. There's rules, there's requirements that may adjust or that are just, hard to remember. And if you were trying to do this DIY approach, the kind of stuff that you'd have to keep in your mind and you'd have to keep updated, and you're going to miss something. And that's where somebody like you, Scott, sure, the rule changes, they might bother you too, as far as, okay, now I got to learn something new, but that's your job, is to go in here, okay, RMD changed from 72 to 73. What does that mean? Okay, these new rules because this new administration, or due to what's going on with the economy, this is kind of what we can foresee happening. I mean, these are things that, man, it wears you out as an advisor having to keep track of, but that's your job. That's what you love to do. You love being that person for folks, and so they can go focus on other things. Go see those grandkids. Go play some golf today. Don't be sitting here trying to get all the details worked out of every single plan you have, every single account. I mean, it's good for you to know some things, but shoot, let the expert help guide you also. That's why you're here.
It is. And I want to thank those of you who have been with me for so long. I know we've received so many phone calls because of our radio show. We've done a lot of TV. You've probably seen my beautiful face, or George's beautiful face, on TV. We do this not to strum up a ton of business, to let you know, hey, we're out there. We're on our game. The laws change, as you well stated, Alex. They change so rapidly. And I myself, we still got to go through the continuing education process. We still got to take classes. And it's not like a professor sitting behind the pulpit and teaching students. I'm in the game working with clients and teaching other people, because I love it. And I think education is so important. And, sometimes I miss rules. I miss it. Yeah, that's right. I made a mistake. Okay, great. If I miss something, the neat thing is I've got people to lean on and run things by, whether it's a pool of CFAs, Chartered Financial Analysts, or CPAs. I can make a couple phone calls and just double check my work, which is what we do here. Like you said, Alex, that's our job.
Mm-hmm.
And rules do change. I was, Alex, to give you an example, I was helping a young woman. Here she is, 55. The rules is on IRAs, you can pull money out after 59 and a half. And she wanted income. She inherited a lot of money from her daddy, and she wanted to pull income out. So we put her into a couple vehicles. Some of the money went into a non-qualified account, which means when you pull it out, it's not taxable, except for any kind of short-term, long-term capital gain. But she also had IRAs. So we did a strategy program, and I looked through it all. I said, you know what? Based on the risk factor, the beta, with the alpha factor, how much growth we can have, and this is about as deep as I'm going to get on the radio, where does she put her money? We took money out of her account because she's 55. She can't take it from IRAs unless she turns it on to a 72T. Well, we changed her investment. She is getting a nice check every single month, non-taxable. And then when she turns 59 and a half, we switch accounts. We start doing some Roth conversions, and she still pulls money out, keeping her tax bracket down. Really fun stuff. It's almost like you and I are playing chess. The one who has the more knowledge and can think 4 or 5 steps ahead, you're the winner. I don't know if you guys are out there. If you're the winner, you're a winner when you look at the taxes and the investment. If you're not, you could be being set up, as the Three Blind Mice says. They need to talk to each other. And if they don't, you're the one who are going to suffer the consequences. Don't let that happen. Give our studios a call. If you would like that help, we're here for you. 609-488-4646. Again, 609-488-4646. No cost, no obligation. By the way, that's our website, 609-488-4646.com. You'll go there. You can peruse the site, see what's going on, and then give our studios a call. Ask for Bonnie. She'll put you in the queue. Would love to speak to you. No cost, no obligation, because making tax decisions could cost a exorbitant amount of money that you didn't have to pay, and that's called regret.
Whether it's a 401k or an IRA that you have for retirement, one thing is certain. You can't treat your retirement account like an ATM. Spending down your savings too quickly and running out of money is an option, well, you just can't afford. Financial Insanity with Scott McLean continues in just a moment.
Who likes uncertainty? Wall Street certainly does not. With near record inflation and partisan politics, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. What will America's future look like? What will your future look like? Will your taxes go up? Will your savings go down? For more than 40 years here in the Jersey Shore area, Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group have seen uncertainty come and go. No matter what the future holds, Scott can help you create a plan designed to preserve your finances in uncertain times. And it's not a matter of if those uncertain times will show up, but when. Call 609-488-4646 now to meet with Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group. If uncertainty is causing you to feel insecure, Scott McLean might be able to help. Call 609-488-4646 and schedule your visit today. Again, that's 609-488-4646.
Investment advisory services are offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Put your positive hat on. Let's have a call to come to Jesus meeting. Let's have a real live discussion. Let's get somewhere and put a game plan together.
We made it back. This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, presented by McLean Advisory Group.
Whether you have a 401k or an IRA, you cannot treat those things like a big ATM. Those retirement accounts, well, there are certain strategies that you have to implement to make sure you do not run out of money in retirement. The number 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646 if you want to talk to Scott and his team over at the McLean Advisory Group. But what do you think about that, Scott? Probably should have some strategies so you don't run out of that money in those retirement accounts.
Well, you could do the Wing Chun plan and wing it.
Yeah. I mean, might be fun for a little bit, but
it would
eventually,
be. I mean, in your early years, they call it the go-go years.
Yep.
You're making a fat income, and then you retire. You put the skids on, and you and your lovely spouse or your family want to go on trips, and you're spending money.
Yep.
This is really important. I love meeting with people at least a year before retirement, if not 6 months at the latest. Hey, Scott, we're fixing to retire. Okay, great. We can take a fixed dollar amount, but what I find is when you're living, let's say, on 70, 80,000, 100,000 a year, and you are working, well, you're making that money, but you have now retired. Now you got no other taxes. Social Security tax, that's off the table. You're not paying that. FICA, FUCA tax, it's off the table. The question is going to be, how are you going to pull it out? Maybe from a fixed amount of money, I want to pull $1,000 a month or $2,000 a month. Okay, great. What investments are you in? And maybe you say, well, Scott, you know what? I want to pull a lot out now. I want to buy a new car. I want to buy, I want to go on a trip to Europe and I want to spend some money. This is not a wing it plan, even though it is kind of when you first retired. Most people have a juicy income. They go to retirement and they're, all right, I'll just live on the same income. I call it the wing it plan. And they don't think, okay, they could be spending a lot of money, usually in the go-go years when you first retire. Then we have the slow-go years. You're not doing as much. So maybe you're not going to that same vacation. You did it, you done it, you don't want to do it again. And then we have the no-go years. Your lights are twinkling, maybe they're getting dull, or maybe you say, you know what, I don't want to go snow skiing anymore. My knees are busted, I can't go. Y'all have fun. And so is it the fixed dollar plan? Is it maybe a limited, maybe you're going to limit withdrawals over that period of time? Do you have investments that by way of contract, listen, investments by way of contract, they're paying a steady check to you, and they could pay a steady check for your life, or by way of the contract, like a bond, like a preferred. What if they don't pay a dividend? And so these are really, really important. Then some of you guys out there and ladies, lovely, beautiful ladies and men, maybe you have the bucket plan. I called you. You put your money in a bucket, you start pulling it out. How much do you pull out of the bucket? Or maybe you have a bucket plan. I have enough money in case the refrigerator breaks. Save, refrigerator breaks. Save. I need 4 new tires in my car. Save. The kids are going through a divorce. They need help. Save. The kids can't pay their mortgage. I'm going to help them. This is a bucket plan. You know, I call it a emergency type of plan. But remember, it's your emergency for those retiring. It's not the kids' retirement. They got to go through the bump in the road sometimes. I know everybody wants to bail the kids out. But sometimes you need, and I don't mean to be ugly. If anyone's out there listening, if you haven't met me, I'm really warm and love people to death. But sometimes they just have to go through that bump in the road to figure it out themselves.
Right.
And this could minimize the required minimum distribution by using the Roth conversion tool. So maybe we'll start putting in the IRAs and 401k monies. We start pulling the 403b. We start pulling the money out. Again, you look at, how do I pull income out? This is where I always talk about, if you've listened to me before, I say TR, total return equals I plus G, income plus growth. So if you have a growth plan, you can't spend growth when it drops, right? But if you have income, you don't have to sell off shares. You enjoy the dividend, that dividend or the interest coming in. And I can tell you, the distribution strategies that are out there are really vital when those of you heading into retirement, if you're not paying attention, look at all the neat strategies that could happen. And there's some cool ones out there. It's really can be really simple when you get someone to educate you through that process. Your light bulb will come on like it did in mine when I was in school. It's like, wow, this is cool. I got to tell everybody. And now you head into the education phase, which we've been doing. So Alex, that's really important for people out there. If you're in retirement or about to retire, how do you set it up?
Yes. Talking IRA and 401k decisions today. If you have questions, the number is 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. Scott, how do we figure out how much income we're going to need these different accounts to generate? We know that we're going to need to figure out different ways than just that paycheck in the future. These are some strategies, but how do we decipher how much income from here, how much from here? How do we go about that process?
So that's a really loaded question.
Right.
So when first of all, you see how much money do we have in qualified plans. A qualified plan could be an IRA, a 401k, 403b, 457. This is taxable money. Then we look at the non-taxable money, money market, savings account, fixed accounts, CDs. And we say, okay, maybe we take from both sides. Why? Taxes. How can we reduce taxes? And then we say, look, we also have income coming in from where? Well, maybe you have a pension plan. This is the biggest mistake I can see people making. They take the maximum withdrawal and the spouse gets nothing because they buy, let's say, $200,000 of insurance. They think that's a lot, and they take the maximum plan. For example, maybe you choose the plan that's going to give you $3,000 maximum for life. And if you buy $200,000, if you die, they take the $200,000 thinking that $300,000 or that money, that $3,000 a month will last. It won't. So let me give you some formulas. If you have a pencil and paper, if you're driving right now, pull over, or maybe you go to our website, 609-488-4646.com. You'll probably hear we're going to save this radio show and put it on there. But I called the rule of 4. They've been using this for years. So let's say I need $3,000 a month and I don't have any pension plan and I'm not using my Social Security. I need $3,000 a month. Real simple. 3,000 times 12 is $36,000. What's going to fund the $36,000? Again, this is you must do your budget first. So you know, worst case scenario, cat food? No, let's stay away from cat food and dog food. Although that may be more healthy for you. I don't know these days, but $36,000 divided by 0.04 to give you $36,000 a year. That's $900,000 of assets. So when I see people taking the maximum plan, getting $200,000, they're short by $700,000 if they plan on living a good long time. Now, taking Social Security. This is another one of the game plans. When do you turn it on? This is, by the way, for some of you, you probably need to turn it on now. For others of you, you may say, you know what, we can delay it. Everybody is not a cookie cutter machine. Well, I heard the IRS and the Social Security and all the government plans. Social Security is going to be out by 2033. If you've been to my workshops, I've been talking about this. This is nothing new. If you've been under my tutelage, because I've been talking about this, the question is, how are you going to pull out money and where? So when we think about it, we look at number one, your budget. What do you really need? What do you really want? Worst case, best case scenario. Your mom and dad taught you all that. The next question is, how is the taxes going to be affected? How much do I have to pull out in taxes? And third, where, like Alex, you mentioned in the beginning, what accounts do we take from? Again, that is where the tax return and your choices. Maybe you have a pension plan. Let's add in the Social Security. When do we turn Social Security on? Do we start to burn down money now or not? This a loaded. So when Alex, that question you ask, that's a loaded question. You can't. We're on the radio right now. In the worst case scenarios, I give you advice, and for maybe a few of you, it's great advice. If I give you one game plan, but we're not a set it and forget it environment. We're not a cookie cutter people. Everyone's so different. Some of you guys out there and ladies are taking care of a special needs child. And maybe you need to think about the special needs. Some of you have what's called the Veterans Aid and Attendance Pension Benefit, and you want to protect your assets and, of course, get the veterans benefit. Maybe some of you are out there saying, you know, Scott, I've got a Social Security, but we did choose the plan, the maximum plan. What do we do to protect my spouse or my kids? How do I protect money? It's not a set it and forget. Anytime, Alex, anytime I meet people, it's not a one-time meeting. Let's go ahead and make some sales. We never do that. I've got to meet people, ask them lots of questions, whether it's one meeting or two meetings or three meetings. No cost, no obligation. I got to get to know your situation, know what's going on, know the dynamics. Because I guarantee you, if you've got the special needs grandchild and you want to leave money to that grandchild, or maybe your wife or your husband's lights are going dim, and maybe you need to shift that money into an irrevocable trust to hide your house and hide your assets from, I say, the crows and the clowns show up at the funeral. How do we protect our money? And so we think about maybe special trust, which is when we work with the legal departments. So I'm not sure about you out there that are listening right now. This is not Alex asked a very difficult question, but a very powerful question. How do you figure out how much money or income you need in these different accounts to generate? That determines on several questions. And so that's a loaded question. I know I took probably excessive time. If you're out there and you're saying, Scott, we've got a lot of different accounts. They're all over the place. Do yourself a favor and give our studios a call off the air. And then to say, you know what? I felt comfortable on the phone, Scott. I felt you didn't have to beg or bug. We won't do that. My name is on the door. This is going in our 43rd year of the business. And if the Lord lets me have another 43 years, otherwise I got younger people in my office. So our office will continue for another 43 years. But I think the question is, how do you set your money up so it'll last a good long time for the rest of your life that you can bank on? And that's why people give us a call off the air, 609-488-4646. That's my studio, 609-488-4646.com if you want to visit us online. But Alex, that's a really hard question.
Well,
I hope I try to answer some of those people out there.
Well, and what you did, Scott, was you made it very clear that an income strategy is necessary in retirement, having one set, and so that you have a plan. And to that point, Scott, when is the best time to get with a trusted financial partner to make that happen as far as having that income strategy in retirement? When is the right time to have that conversation?
I love meeting people, whether it's 5 years before, and worst case scenario, 6 months before.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because we have to put a plan together where they can practice it, because you're going to mess up the first 4, 5, 6 months. You're going to mess up, almost like working out. You work out one day, your body's sore, you don't want to work out again. This is a plan that needs to be put in place, and then have someone hold you accountable, because this is not a do-over plan. This is not a set it and forget it.
Scott welcomes you to try that number. Also, if you would rather go to the website, it is simply the phone number with .com at the end. So 609-488-4646.com.
How simple is that?
Pretty darn easy. And you are listening to Financial Insanity, out of the box thinking for your financial sanity. More with Scott coming up.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money. But do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At McLean Advisory Group, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call the McLean Advisory Group team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Tax Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies are not associated entities.
I call it the chicken and the egg. The chicken is the investment. The egg is the dividend. And so when the chicken pops out the eggs, if you don't need the money, let's reinvest the eggs and buy more chickens.
Man, that's just an excellent analogy, Scott.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, powered by McLean Advisory Group.
We talk a lot about the risks to your money in retirement. Wall Street Journal saying baby boomers' biggest financial risk, cognitive decline. Scary risk can rob you of your best judgment. Sometimes it can go even unnoticed for years. With that in mind, we're going to go ahead and bring you a top 5 list for this week. Top 5 scams that you should be aware of, Scott.
Well, I don't know about you. And I just had someone in the office, and this lovely lady, 73 years old, was in the office and has a new friend, beautiful, beautiful gentleman, as he sat out in the lobby and we got through talking about it. And I called the romance scam. And obviously it's real. And when you think about the romance scam, of course, they perpetrate themselves as they got money and they want to go out, and who ends up paying the bills, and they end up having that area. On top of romance scams, I like to throw in there, when you think about that, maybe kids who think they're so concerned about their mom and dad's money that maybe they think mom and dad have a lot of money and they can borrow the money. I think that's a scam as well. I don't know if that's what you're talking about, but I think these partners, romance scams, as you well indicated, these dating websites, these elderly victims, just to get your information. Be very careful of that. We all love relationship people. This is important. Now, Alex, you said there was another scam out there, the tech scam, I think you mentioned.
Yeah, and that's something, and we see it all the time. Really, you can have text messages, you can have emails, but unfortunately, there's a lot of technology nowadays, Scott, and people can be reached so easily, and you never know how somebody maybe even got your information. But there's a lot of communication, and sometimes people can make it seem very real and something very relevant, and they can give you a lot of sense of urgency, and it's important to be aware of those kind of things happening as well.
Boy, that is so true. When I think about these tech scams, I remember when we do taxes, and these text scams, they turn into a phone call. Did you get you owe money on the government? You need to send us money. Or one of the close friends and clients, which obviously won't say their name, where they called me up and they were beside themselves, where they actually ran to Walmart and they wired money through Western Union of $5,000 because they heard their grandson was in trouble, got in a car accident, but they won't report it if they send them money because the grandson hit somebody, and they ended up almost dying. The woman is pregnant, now lost a baby. This is real. And she called me, the husband and wife called me, and they said, Scott, what do we do? And, I said, let's call your son right now and see about how their child's doing, your grandson. No, they told us not to call anybody or they're going to go ahead and press charges.
Yeah.
I don't know if you would believe that. Now, my clients are a little bit older. This couple, we're very close. And I looked at them in the eyes and said, we're calling your son right now. No, Scott, I don't want you to. I said, okay, we're going to call the police. They were in my office. We're going to call the police station right now to see if there's any accidents. And we did. I said, okay, Mr. and Mrs., let's say JoJo, we're going to call now your son. You should have seen his wife's face. Alex, I believe you. These scams are real. And they did not want to call because they're afraid it's real. We got the son on the phone because I forced them to do it. Oh, no, he's with his best friend right now. There was no car accident. These are real scams, whether it's from tax returns, such as the tech scams, the grandparent scams, usually trying to, which is the third scam you had mentioned to me when we were speaking before. Of course, they're faking out relative. And then we talk about the government. We talk about the taxes, the fourth scam.
And that's a big one, Scott. That's a big one because
huge.
Because they'll pick the right times too, whether it's tax season or whether they know it's open enrollment or whatever it may be, and that's when you'll get a call, and then it makes it seem very relevant.
The tax scam, Alex, I get this call every daggum year. And we have it in our folder when we do our tax returns for our clients. And we do a for our financial clients, it's a real expensive tax returns, like $110 we charge. We don't want to be a profit center. We want to help our people understand that. But one thing we found out is, okay, this is the IRS calling. You need to owe money. We don't want to put a lien on your account. And the IRS doesn't call people. It's like, wait a minute, whoa. Didn't we just tell you in the portfolio when you got your tax returns, there's a thing you may get a phone call. Don't expect a phone call. It says in there real clearly. So, and then the stimulus checks. I can't tell you how many calls we got because we do taxes for our clients and the stimulus check.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. Totally ridiculous. And you know what? I don't blame the older folks because they're sitting at home, they're watching their TV shows, they get a phone call, and fear is a tremendous motivator the older you get. And that, to me, your lights go dim, maybe your husband, your wife, your significant others taking care of you, and you're worried about them. And these scams, well, Alex, the sweepstakes scam, how about that one? Or the charity. I want to give money to the poor people or this charity, or maybe like my friend, as I mentioned, one of your shows before we spoke about my roommate in college is over in Poland helping Ukrainians, and he's there right now. But there's a lot of scams. I remember the scam about the Hurricane Sandy. Where did all that daggum money go? Ticks me off. And I think of all this illegitimate, quote, charitable organizations. This is a huge problem for the seniors out there. Guys, don't fall for it. And then you end up calling to your financial guy, hey, I need like my close friend and Scott, we need to pull out $10,000 because our grandson got in a car accident I mentioned earlier. I said, no, I'll let you get your money, but we need to make some calls first. As a fiduciary, Alex, my job is to protect our clients the best I can in every way I can. And if they don't want it, they can take their money and go to another advisor, because my job is to be, I call it in Ezekiel 33, the watchman, to oversee people's monies, to help them. You know what? This is a lost art. One thing, Alex, we didn't talk about, you could have kids out there trying to scam their parents.
Well, that would never happen, Scott. What are you talking about? There has never been a kid out there who's tried to get their parents' money when they didn't actually probably need it. What are you talking about? That would never happen.
It's crazy.
That would never happen. No. Well, and Scott,
I see that.
And I'm sure that you do, and you see it all. And you are somebody, if somebody's sitting out there and they're thinking, well, heck, is this a scam or what should I look out for? If you have questions, then Scott could maybe have some answers for you. If you want to give him a buzz, 609-488-4646. You can give Scott a call, 609-488-4646. Scott, since you deal with this a lot, are there some indicators that somebody might be dealing with a scammer? Sometimes
not. Sometimes they could be sounding so sincere, so realistic, you might not realize it. But then on the other side, yeah, basically they go to Google and they do a search online and people who contact you. Or perhaps maybe you go online, you look up their phone number. If those seniors, people that are cognitively, they're going to be proactive, maybe you Google the phone number, see if it's a real phone number. And when I see people also really being proactive is they want you to download stuff and they want you to just click on this and it leads you down the primrose path of being ripped off. And that internet thing, because a lot of seniors these days, more now than ever, are on the internet. They sit in there, maybe one person's watching the TV show and the other person's on the internet, and you get caught in this web of deception. And I think we've really never did this on a radio show in the past 10, 12 years, but this is a good segment, Alex. We talk about so many scammers they're trained. They know how to get your information, and then they get your voice and they get it's almost right now, just like the thief in the night. Well, now they don't even have to go in your house. They're going to get it by the internet. So I think this is really, really a good topic of the scams. And again, the nicest guy, the nicest girl in the world, one of the flags, maybe they're good looking, they have a nice, sweet talking self, and maybe they just want to sell you something and get you involved in something, and they get your credit card and and now you're spending time cleaning up this nonsense. So don't use your debit card. If you're going to buy things, use a credit card. The credit card companies are really helping out. They've been a big insulator. I would never use a debit card. And by the way, it happened to my sister where her daughter is on my sister's account and she started buying stuff and she started adding to the credit card, which my sister is in her name, and she allowed her daughter to use it.
What could
and all
go
of a sudden
wrong?
she sees charges. My goodness. And she got taken to the cleaners. And I won't say what I did, but I can tell you, I see this from a firsthand position to my clients, and I just disturbs me, especially in the field I was heading in. How do I protect our clients as a fiduciary, as a protector of our clients? And I think this is really important, Alex. Great subject.
Well, and Scott, you don't want to just walk around and be somebody who doesn't trust anybody or that you're super paranoid or stuff like that. But how can working with financial professional, working with you, how can that insulate people, give some people some protection against scams? Because some of them can come from people that you really didn't expect it to come from.
Well, I know one thing. We get phone calls. And I can tell you several phone calls we get from clients, and they want to take money out, and I will drill them down on questions. Well, let me ask you something. What happened? What took place? What do you need it for? Not that I'm trying to control their money, not at all, but to protect them from what's going on. Now, if they don't want to tell me, they don't have to. I'm supposed to give them their money. If they ask for money, that's fine. But if I'm hearing something fishy, whether they get the sweepstakes or whatever, I really want to know, is it the fraudulent, deceitful people out there trying to get their hands on their money? And I usually call. The second thing, of course, when I think about that, I really want to find out, if they call us, what is it about, as I just mentioned? If it even goes to the next level, which I have done, I may call the power of attorney. If we keep our clients in our firm, when someone becomes a client, I want a copy of their will, power of attorney, living will. So if they call in and they want to ask questions, I'm going to pull them up. Who is this? And I want to find out about that, or our staff would find out about that. So ask lots of questions. Maybe you go to your best friend before you do anything and ask them questions on what should you do. If not, and maybe you get this fancy software out there. I don't know which is the best software. I'm not telling people what the best software is, but there's software to protect your title, a title lock, I think they call it, or maybe Life Lock, which your protection. I don't know which is the best out there. That's not my job. Seek it out, ask your kids for help. But I think you need to have these tools, because it's going to get more rampant as the market changes and as people get more aggressively theft goes up.
And Scott, for the last time here today, how can people get a hold of you if they do have questions?
Pick up the telephone, 609-488-4646. Our staff will put you on the call log. We'll follow up, 609-488-4646. And if we can help somebody, obviously we're a financial firm. We're not the fraud detection firm. I'll make that real clear. If we can hear some phony things going on, we will probably either post it on the web, 609-488-4646.com, and you can see for some helpful tips, if we have any at that time, of things that are happening.
This radio program may contain information which has gone regulatory or other significant changes since its original recording. The information and views expressed on today's show is educational in nature and is not intended to be a recommendation for any specific investment, product, strategy, plan, tax, or legal advice. Information presented is believed to be factual and up to date, but we do not guarantee its accuracy. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, a SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies, LLC, are not associated entities.
This radio show is a paid placement.